Here's a video to help you understand how to do isometric sketching or isometric drawing. In the assignment, we have 9 objects that we draw from blocks, and then we have one more object to draw that's later on in the assignment. I'm going to step through a couple of these to help you understand how. Now, before we begin, we need to understand what I mean by blocks. So, in class, we use linking blocks, and this is basically saying the first one we do is we draw one block, and then the second set is drawing with 2. The third set is drawing with 3. Now on a 3, you have a couple of options. You can do it this way, or you can do it from this shape. Either one of those will work. You just have to do the same thing if you have a repeated shape. And then for 4 blocks, we draw 4 blocks. Of course, with a 4 block, you have more options. You could go like this. You could go like this, however you want to do it. But as we draw these, we're going to ignore the pips here. We're going to ignore the nibs and also the edges around here. We'll just assume this is one large block. This will become quite evident as we go through and draw. So let's go ahead and draw the first block. So on our isometric paper, and you can get this paper from printing it online or in class, the first thing we need to do is put our title, which for this one is assignment 204, unless it's been adjusted later, who it's drawn by. So this is drawn by me, Mr. Runyon. And try to make this so you can see it clearly. The date, so right now the date is December 14th. And the hour, so this is for my first hour. And the scale for this one will vary. We'll have some words about the scale later. So to begin with, let's draw one block. And the idea is that I look at the block something like this, and I picture this edge being closest to me will be one edge here on the paper. I'll do a light sketch first to kind of know where it goes, and then I'll finish it off with the ruler. So if I'm drawing this edge here, then it's going to go one edge back. Notice that I am just drawing on the lines themselves. And I'm doing just a nice light sketch so that I can come back later and use a ruler. Something like this. And I notice that the top of the block goes like this here. Okay, I'll go ahead and take a ruler. The small ones are nice for this if you have a choice. And just clean it up. Now I could have started, of course, drawing with the ruler right off the bat. Whatever your preference. Certainly, I think you would get a better product if you did. But I wanted to kind of let you see what it looks like before I got started. Something like this. Okay, looks pretty decent. Now, for the assignment, you have a choice. You can either shade or use colored pencils or highlighters. I'm going to use highlighters on this one. Normally what you'll do is once you start with one coloring scheme on a paper, you continue with that same coloring scheme. So I'm choosing to do blue on the right side of the block. I'm doing orange on the front side of the block and yellow on the top side of the block. You may do this with just 2 colors if you want, and just choose one of the sides to be white. Okay, so this is our first example right here where we're doing 1-to-1. So when we refer to the scale, the first part is the, for the purpose of what we're doing, is going to be the model, and the second part is reality. So for every one unit of measurement that we use on the paper, we'll use here. Okay, we'll do the same thing here, except now I'll use 2 units of measurement for every one on the block. So what that does is, because this is one block, we're just saying that each one of these is worth another, is worth 2 when we're doing a 2-to-1 scale. So then instead of coming down 1, I'm going to go down 2, go left 2, left 2, like this. I do the same thing over here. Like that. So we're calling this a 2-by-1 scale. And one thing that you know, it's getting larger. So if we were to actually write the scale right here as 2-to-1, in math, if we were to write that as a scale of something like this, this would be representing 2/1, which is much larger than a 1/1, which we did before. And the same thing would go, we would do yellow and orange and blue. I want to show you a different way, though, for this one. I'm going to use cross hatching. Takes a little bit more care. Just make sure that you do a different hatch for each surface and stick with that across the whole thing. So I'm just doing a diagonal line for the front, and then I'm going to do a series of circles for the right. I don't know how that's going to look, but as long as it's consistent, we're good. So this is in the case that you don't have something that you could color with. Yeah, it's not working too well, but that's okay. Maybe I'll just turn it to squiggles. There we go. Something like that. And I'm just going to leave the top white. So this is the example of 1-to-1, and the other one is the example of 2-to-1. All right, let's do one more example of how to do this. So I've done these two right here. I want to do, let's do a 2-to-1 with a 4. So then with my 4, I have 4 blocks here. And I think I'll draw it this way. Okay, I'll start down low enough that I'll make sure that it doesn't come off the page. And so for every 1 block high, we're going to do 2 on the paper. So it's a 2-to-1. Okay, and then we're going to go back, looks like 2, 4. So we go back 4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it looks like we go up 1, which on paper is going to go 2. Then on back here, we go right 2. And then back here on this edge, let's see right here. Okay, back on this edge right here, goes up 1 block worth, which is 2 on the paper. Now it looks like I get to do the top of that block, kind of like this. Like this here. Now I'm planning on doing color. I'll go ahead and do this next one with a highlighter so that you can see the difference. And you can choose which to do. Just make sure you stay with the same thing throughout the whole drawing, the whole page. Unlike what I'm demonstrating, mainly I want to show you options so that when you choose to do it for your assignment, you'll be okay. And notice I'm just drawing through the parts of the block here like this. Now this is really interesting. So if I look at this part back here, it's 2 blocks high, so I've got to come down 4. What happens though when we come down here 4 is it looks like on the page that it's actually touching right here. And it's something that we just get used to when we're looking at isometric drawing, that sometimes that happens. This is why we have multi-view drawings, which we'll learn about later. So this is a 4 blocks at 2-to-1. I'm just putting the scale there. And this time I'm going to use highlighters just to show you the difference on how they look. Just like that. And making sure that I put blue on all of the right sides so that's consistent. Looks like my highlighter's running out. Okay, and then we'll use the next highlighter. Okay, and so I want to use yellow along the top. So really it's preference, which one you want to do. Above all, whether you use crosshatch, shading method with a pencil, or if you use a highlighter, or you could even use crayon. Colored pencils work really well, as you noticed. Well, it looks like I probably want to erase that little piece so that it looks, there we go. And then we'll do the orange in the front. But the main thing is we're trying to communicate in engineering, and to do that we really need to be clear and show our best effort. So I showed you a little bit here. I'm rushing it. If I'm turning this in from an assignment, this little part up here that I went out of the line really is a deduction. Just make sure you have at least one really good one on this page. Okay, now what you'll do with the rest of the assignment is just repeat doing all of these shapes, and then farther down on the assignment is one that I haven't given you dimensions. It looks kind of like this. Here's a thumbnail sketch of what it looks like with a hole in the middle. And what I'll have you do is draw this one. You'll be able to determine your own dimensions and then probably draw it one-to-one. All right, that's it for my instructions. Certainly if you need some more help, let me know in class. Thanks.